What is going on, everybody? It is Saturday night, and we're just hanging out. Hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday night. We're here for the Mighty Rewind podcast, and we just got like a little topic I want to talk about. Okay. Not only are we streaming on YouTube, right? We're streaming on Instagram right now. Hello, everybody out there on the Instagram platform. What is going on with you guys? Hope you guys are well. Uh, that's it, man. I wanted to come on tonight, not only because I'm bored. I haven't done a live stream in a while, ever since we did the first episode of the drawing board or whatever we called it with Jin. We have him come on and talk about a lot of his artwork. Great stuff. Love the dude. He's going to do that again here very soon, probably next month. But I wanted to come on and talk about collecting in general, where it's been, where it's going, stuff like that. So that's what tonight is. And of course, like every night, I take questions from you guys. I'll answer anything you want. We'll talk about whatever you guys want, especially with collecting and stuff like that. So you guys can always ask that. So it's never an issue. But like I said, I actually have a StreamYard link to anybody who wants to jump on the channel tonight and talk about this topic or any topic for that matter. But I figured this is a good thing to talk about. I know those guys are doing their ungraded true stream tonight. They're going to talk about, Logan Paul, the Pokemon stuff, but that's not really my game. So I didn't want to get into that. So this is what we're doing here tonight. So if you're on IG, say hello in the chat. I'm monitoring that chat as well. But if you're on YouTube, also, if you're in the chat, say hello, ask the questions. Welcome aboard, because tonight we're talking collectibles. All right. So with that said, folks, I have to ask anybody out there who's watching this now or possibly on the rewind later on, are you guys still collecting? Are you guys still collecting, whether it be comics, whether it be toys, whether it be video games, whether it be whatever it is? Are you collecting, or are you just kind of keeping the hunt alive? And I'll explain what I mean by that. So like, if you're a collector, there's a certain point in your life or in your collecting journey where you pretty much, I think, have a lot of the stuff that you want, and you just continue to buy stuff because it's kind of your regular routine, that you go on live sales, you buy things, you go on Heritage, you go on Comic Link, you go on, on any live platform. You can go in store at your LCS. You can go to wherever you find your collectibles, right? It's unlimited these days of where you want to buy things. But are you still a collector, or are you just a creature of habit at this point? And I'd really love answers from people out there in the chat, because I do think, obviously, it really depends where you are along your journey. I myself at this point have just become a nostalgia guy. So like, I don't really buy things unless I hold like a real big affinity to them. I've gotten to that point where it's like, you know what? I don't really consider myself a collector anymore. I consider myself uh, a lover of nostalgia, and a lover and a reminiscer. Is that even a word? I don't know. A reminiscer of the things that I used to love and still love today in this game. So that's what I'm asking everybody out there. So I'll keep asking the question, because I know we just got started. We don't have a lot of people in the room, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on YouTube. I want to say hello to still only 35 cent. What's going on, brother? I'm surprised you're still up over there. It's got to be late there, right, man? Again, I said this before. The link is in the chat. If everybody wants to come on with me tonight, they're more than welcome to discuss this topic or any other topic. So keep that in mind. The link is pinned in the chat. But again, I'd love to hear from everybody out there. Where are you right now? Are you still collecting, or are you kind of, this is kind of what I do, and it's part of my routine. And if I see something cool, I buy it. If you see something that reminds you of your childhood, you buy it. I'll call that nostalgia, because that's really what that is. But I'd really love to hear from everybody out there. For me, I've said this before. At one point, I've been a collector for a long time, right? I got out of college and I was a collector, but to a point, I was also, a nostalgia guy. Like, I was recollecting Masters of the Universe figures, Thundercats figures when I first got out of college, comics as well. And then I kind of laid off of that, let everything go, was away from the game for a really long time till about 2017. And I came back and I started reacquiring comics. And I think in part because I have a younger son at that point. So he was kind of into the MCU, into Marvel, and he was kind of really interested. So I kind of took him along that journey. And then, of course, the YouTube channel started, and I started doing more of that. So finding other collectibles, finding other comics that I wanted to re-add in the collection, and then later on, kind of dissipating them, and then kind of only figuring out, you know what, I don't want to spend all this money if it doesn't have meaning to me. And now I've become that nostalgia guy. So I want to hear from you. Where are you right now? Are you consider yourself still a collector? Are you a nostalgia guy or gal? Or are you just stuck in a routine where you constantly buy stuff? And don't tell me that doesn't exist, because I see the same people on all the Instagram live sales. I see the same people everywhere buying stuff. So again, you may just be a lover of the medium, whatever that medium is, toys, comics, whatever that stuff is, that could be just you, and that's 100% fine. You're still allowed to be a collector. That's not what I'm saying. If you're still a collector, tell me in the comments. If you're a nostalgia person, tell me that in the comments. If it has become part of your routine to buy stuff, tell me in the comments. We're not shaming anyone here tonight, folks. Like, that's not the thing. I've gone through all phases, because I was like a serious collector. I became I'm buying stuff because it's part of my routine, and now I've realized that, you know what, I am now the nostalgia guy. I love some of this stuff like so much that I want to be surrounded by it. It's kind of like my happy thing. It makes me happy. It makes me, you know, it takes me back to a place where I had some of my fondest memories. So that's why, I wanted to have this discussion with people. And of course, like always, we can answer whatever questions you guys want on any comics, anything. I'll be glad to answer anything you guys want. First things first, I got to say hello to my boy, Hurritan, again, for how do we get more youth into the vintage comics? I think we're safe for 20 years for value, but without young blood in the game, longevity. Yeah, it's tough, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is very, very tough without younger people in the hobby. But, with that said, I see younger people. I just don't see them obviously to an extent that everybody else does. So keep that in the back of your head. I mean, I don't know if that's ever going to change. I feel like this hobby has always been like that, just for the fact that, we have, as comic collectors, we kind of grew up in an era. We didn't have social media. We didn't have, you know, electronics to a point we do now. We don't have all that stuff to kind of keep these kids occupied. So, with that said, I understand why kids aren't involved these days. But at the same time, it also brings back to my point, is that we as collectors should, you know, kind of expand the medium into people when we see them, if they are interested. And I got to apologize because my screen just like blew up and now I can't see anything. So I can't see the chat. And I don't know why this happens every once in a while, but it does. So while I do that, I'm going to restart my stream here. But I'd love to hear from anybody out in the comments. Do you see kids doing these things? Do you see kids, you know, collecting comics? Like, I told this story on the Amazing Pop Culture podcast, how you know, I run into the same kid all the time since I was a young kid. And it's wild because I'm putting myself back. All right. So I just, for me, it's just, it depends on the kid. That's really what I want to say. Now I hear myself in an echo. Is that better? Let me remove this guy. Give me a second. I don't know why the fuck this does. All right. I still hear myself, but do you guys hear an echo or not? Let me know. But I think I can remove that for now because I don't need it. Let me go back to this. So again, I want to get back to the comments. JSS is here. He says, good evening, all. Jeffrey Fonzo. Hey, Lawrence. Happy Saturday, buddy. I'm definitely running about this topic recently. I get my comics every Wednesday from the shop, but the burn for new books is waning. All right. So I shut that off because I was getting an echo out of there. But as long as you guys can hear me, we're good. So that's a great thing. I mean, like, that's the, I'll ask you this, and it's a great question. Tell me in the comments, everybody who's in the comments right now, there's 36 people, which is a lot of people for a live stream for me. So tell me, are you still collecting, or where are you along your thing? Are you a collector? Are you a nostalgia person? Or are you, in fact, kind of stuck in that rut where you kind of feel like you have to buy something? Because we've all been there. For me, like I said, I'm in the nostalgia guy. I think you go from collector to I feel like I have to buy something to I went to the nostalgia route. Some people don't go that route. They just kind of dump it. And I've actually have a friend of mine who's actually trying to get out now as he speaks. So he's on his way out. He wants to sell his whole collection, start doing other stuff. So I totally understand that. So I get it. And that's why I wanted to kind of have a conversation today and see, what everybody else's feelings were. I want to say hello to Phil Ailing. What's going on, my friend? Jeff says, Jeff Fonzo, I still collect stuff I want. Harder to find variants, nostalgia books like X-Files and Charmed. I'm one of the rare older collectors selling silver and bronze and getting into modern variants. Wow, I'm shocked at that because I think a lot of people don't go that route, right? Where they go the opposite route where it's like, all right, you're starting in vintage and now you're going to modern, where a lot of people go to start with modern because they feel comfortable that way. They feel comfortable that way, and then they jump back into the vintage. So, Jeff, you're kind of opposite of everybody, which is wild. But that's it is what it is. Do you feel more comfortable? Do you feel comfortable at all going from a vintage guy nostalgia hopping over to modern now? Is that something that you feel comfortable with, or is that something that's a little weird? So he says technology is effing great. It is great. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It is freaking phenomenal. But at the same time, like, you know, these kids nowadays, like they're not involved in anything else besides it. Like my youngest, all he does, and my oldest still, all they do is play video games. Thank God they're into sports, because I'd never get them out of the house. But, you know, I understand they get out of comics, to get out of collecting, to get out of those things that they are when they're very young, where they're into those things, and then they jump into other things, which I also understand. So I find it like that we need to talk about, like, as adults, as adult collectors. And I'm not really worried about kids at this point. If they want to get back into the medium, if they do have, feelings for it as they grow older, they'll come back in just like we did. But at the same time, like as adults, there's something that we're missing that I think a lot of people flock back to a hobby and then continue being in that hobby, but it becomes different. And that's really, really what I wanted to talk about tonight. But again, we could talk about anything, but I felt like it was a really good topic to discuss. And whoever wants to talk about it and wants to be open about it, I'm all for it. Because to me, like, that is what, being a collector and having a community like this, that's what we should be talking about, because we're here to help one another. And I've seen a lot of people leave the hobby, leave the community, because of, they feel like they've kind of gotten what they could out of it and just cut themselves off completely. And I don't really generally think that's a great idea. And most of the time when they do that, they kind of, I hate to say it, but they take a beating on whatever they were collecting, right? Especially financially. They really put themselves in a hole. And I want to try to prevent that if we can. Hurricane, again, thank you again for the super chat, my friend. Rank the following by significance: Batman number 1, Superman number 1, ASM number 1, Marvel Comics number 1, Captain America 1, Detective Comics 1, Hulk 1, and FF. So I'll rank them, but do you want me ranking them by value or about what I love? Because you can rank them in different ways, right? We don't have to rank by, like, he says significance. Okay, so I'll rank it by significance. So that's a great question. To me, I guess significance would be Marvel Comics number 1 as the first significance for me. I do think Marvel Comics is bigger than DC Comics at this point. I'm not saying that with modern stuff that I think a lot more of the characters are beloved as opposed to DC characters. It's just my opinion on this. Don't kill me. Please don't. Everybody has their own opinion, but I'll go Marvel Comics 1, and probably Superman 1 the next, Batman 1 after that, Captain America 1, ASM 1, Hulk 1. I'll put FF 1 over Hulk 1. For me, I love the Hulk more than LFF, but because that book has been so important, it was the start of Marvel, technically, of the superhero age for them. I'll put that above Hulk 1. Detective Comics 1, I understand it's the first DC book, but I don't think a lot of people out there would put that at the top of their list of books they'd want to go out and get. It's just my opinion. I don't think that's the case. So I don't know. Again, man, this stupid I don't know what the F just happened there, but I'm back. But freaking wild. Can you guys hear me? Just make sure that you can hear me. So, all right. So I'm back. So I apologize. I don't know what the hell just happened there. But regardless, I'm here. Just somebody let me know if you could hear me and we're all good. Screen is back to normal. So O'Hale says he's still collecting high grade silver and bronze books. So O'Hale, I want to ask you a question tonight. I hope you're still here after that whole thing. But how long you've been collecting comics, O'Hale? Is it been a long time? Is it been like, only like a year or two? Like, how long have you been collecting comics? Because I think that tells a broader story on, if you're still collecting or whatever. So I'd love to hear from that. If you mind sharing that, O'Hale, I think it would help the chat. And anybody out there who answers these questions, let me know how long you've been collecting. Amazing Pop Culture Podcast. We were just talking about you, brother. How are you? In the 80s, we had the band Naked Eyes, and now due to technological difficulties, we have Lawrence with Naked Ears. Yeah. I don't know. Every time I do one of these things, I have a freaking issue. So I don't do them too much. And it's not me, but hopefully you guys could still hear me. Yep, you're back. All good. All right, Hurricane, thank you much. JSS, it's probably not you. YouTube has had a bunch of issues this week. Oh, good to know. My screen is back to normal and I can hear and my video is good. So we should be from fine here on out. Good. I'm glad that the audio is back. But again, if you're a collector out there, how long have you been collecting comics? And are you still consider yourself a collector? Or are you a nostalgia guy? You only go to buy things like, oh, I remember that. I used to have that. Maybe I want to add it back to my collection. Did you just come back recently? Maybe you've taken a break from collecting. Maybe 2021, 2022 pushed you out. And now it's 2026. It's a good time to get back in. So here, and just case in point, Comic Fanigan says most of us came in during COVID and are still in the red. I understand that. I'm glad you're still doing it, right? Because I think a lot of people who did come in COVID, so like a good majority of them are out. They're gone. They're finished. Like they got out, they took a beating and they're never coming back. So I'm actually happy if you told me you got in during COVID and are still collecting things, because that's a positive sign of one, you must love collecting and you must love what you're buying. That's what it tells me, because like a lot of people, if you didn't love it, you got pushed out during that time frame and you're not coming back. You're probably so sour about how things went. So Palermo says he's been collecting for 53 years. My God, that is tremendous. So Palermo, let me ask you, are you still collecting or are you like just admiring at this point? Have you sold anything off? Have you like kind of narrowed it down to the things you really love? 53 years is a long time. I commend you. That is absolutely incredible. Let us know, Palermo. I'd love to hear that. Since he was 7 years old. Wow. Tiker, welcome aboard. Says started collecting comics in the early 90s, stopped and started again in 2014 with a handful of slabs. Then ever since the comic boom restarted again. So, Tiker, have you sold anything off? Have you kind of maybe consolidated a little bit, or do you still have everything from when you started back in 2014? A handful of slabs is kind of like a good way to like start off. But now, as you've been in it for a while, obviously 90s is a different story. I was in it when I was, younger as well. And then you leave, then you come back, and then you leave again, then you come back. So I'd like to hear what the story is, because the two people or three people who have said it so far, like they're older. They've been doing this for probably just as long as I have. And I'm on the nostalgia boat now. So O'Hale says, I collected from a young age till 19 and then stopped. Picked up the hobby again back in June of 2024. So after the boom. So honestly, that's a pretty good time to get in. So going 2 years strong, I'm buying grails I couldn't afford as a kid. It's also nostalgic for me too. So I think he's in like a really good, that's like the really good collector space, in my opinion. Like when you're a younger person and you love these things, we all have that affinity when we're younger, because that's when we first find out and find the love for all these IPs. But then you get back in June of 2024. So you miss all of that COVID shit that went on and the boom and then the crash and everything. So he's been doing it for the past 2 years, which in my opinion is a really good spot to be in it. And he's buying his grails that he couldn't afford as a younger kid. And it's also nostalgic as well. So you're definitely still on the collecting boat with a nod to nostalgia, which I think is, in my opinion, you're in the funnest part of the collecting journey right now. It's no question in my mind that you're really in that sweet spot. I'll give you a little bit of advice. Don't overdo it. Buy the things that you really love. And I'm going to tell you, you'll have the best experience you will have when you're buying your grails right now. Just don't overdo it and just love what you're buying right now. But you're in a really good spot. Jeff says, I've been collecting since 1983 when he was 12. Okay, so you're a little bit, you're 12 and 83. So yeah, man. All right, you're older than me. I stopped in the 90s when I met my future wife. Congrats. I needed money to take her out. We all been there as well. I got back into it when I took my son to see his first event. Me and you are probably along the same lines of like, you know, I was out before I met my wife, but my son, we got back in because of our son. So I totally get it. So Jeff, I'll ask you this now. You said this before. Where are you now collecting? Like, do you still have all of your things? Have you sold a lot off? Are you a nostalgia guy, or you still consider yourself in the heart still collecting? Braddock, what's going on, my friend? He says, what's up, Lawrence? I was on IG chatting away. I've been collecting hard for the last 2 to 3 years and love the hobby. People in the community are awesome. So Braddock, first, I apologize if I missed you on IG. I'm going to catch up on the IG stream now. I see one comment there that I'm going to address. But let me ask you. So you've only been collecting for the past 2 to 3 years? This is the beginning for you? Because if it is, I want to know what you're buying. Because is you're buying stuff that you have an affinity for, or are you just kind of dipping your toes in the past couple of years and just figuring out what you like? Because that's also part of it. It's figuring out what you like. But I see Slim Rocks over on IG. What's going on? He says, love Silver Age and Bronze. I'm still a little scared of Modern, but Absolute Batman and Diorc started to win me over. So yeah, that whole, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, Dork. I haven't read it, but I heard about all the hype. A lot of hype's going on right now. He said, though, his kids there searching for hobbies like comics. How old are you? My teenage son and his kids came over, and his kids, your teenage son and his kids came over and was looking for my collection. It was cool watching them genuinely liking the comics. I'm assuming you meaning his friends, not his kids. I hope he doesn't have kids at teenage. But if he does, I mean, good for him. And he's getting some good stuff in it as a teenager. But I think I got the gist of it, man. So yeah, what did they like about the comics? Did they like that they're vintage? Did they like the art? Obviously, I don't think they were reading them, but maybe they are. You confirm with me. But he says he's been collecting a few years now. So all right, so he's been in a couple of years, and his kids are starting to get into it as well. So I like what I'm seeing about people here have only been collecting the past couple of years. I love that, because that means you're still getting people into the hobby, right, guys? That's a part of the reason why I think having this conversation is important. Because people say all the time, well, we're not getting new people in the hobby. That's nonsense. Because out of the 4 people I've spoken to today, the past 2 to 3 years, it seems to be we've had a bunch of people come in. And that's a really good thing, considering, the MCU hasn't really been a great thing the past couple of years, stuff like that. So that to me is a really, really good thing. And somebody, obviously, Slim Rocks is saying that his kids seemed very interested in that as well. So Palermo says, no, I have bought 4 books the last 6 years or so. Green Lantern 78, Iron Man 1, Batman 251, all slabbed 8.0, and the Raw Batman 227 last fall. I mean, at our age, that's what happens. And that's why I kind of asked the question, right? Palermo's been collecting for 53 years. So he's not hand over fist buying books still. He's picking and choosing. Now, Palermo, have you sold a lot of stuff? Have you not sold anything over that time frame? And I'll talk about like since COVID till now, have you sold anything? Have you, and you, obviously you picked up 4 books over the past 6 years, so that answers the question. But have you sold anything during that time frame? Let us know. Gago Fred, somebody new to the chat. I appreciate you. Collected as a kid, but got back in when my dad found a shoebox of my old TMNT books just before COVID. Had a TMNT 1 in the box that graded as a 9.4 unpressed. It was my first slab. Wow. Gago Fred, was that a first print? Man, imagine that, pulling a TMNT out of a shoe, TMNT 1 out of a shoebox. Holy crap. Let me know. I got to know. Was that a first print? That's like crazy. That's like, I heard somebody else today that another story about it. I won't even get into, about somebody possibly finding a Captain America 1 for like no money. But we'll get into that if it ever goes public. I don't even know if it is. But I haven't bought any modern books in over 15 years. Okay. So, but let me know if you sold. Hurricane again, brother. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate you, man. Why did 90s kids consider Silver Age first appearances grails, but these days may not care as much? It is because we had Wizard Magazine promote. Is it because we had Wizard Magazine promoting prices? I don't think it has anything to do with that. What I will say, obviously, back then we talked about not having social media when we were younger, but that Wizard was one of our only things to kind of price things. Obviously, it wasn't accurate. Anything back then really wasn't too accurate because the prices was always fluctuating and you never knew what was out there. That's the whole thing. When you're growing up in the 80s and 90s, you don't know what was out there because there was no internet. So, you see, a Hulk 181. Well, you talk about Silver Age. So let's say you find a Amazing Spider-Man #3 for stock at your local shop. You don't know how many are out there at that point in your life. You're like, wow, first appearance of Dr. Octopus. That's why they were considered girls. There still are girls. Like, to me, as a Spidey guy, like, to me, that's my favorite villain. So anytime I see the book anywhere, I always want to buy it. I don't do it, but I always want to be like, oh man, I love that book so much. I just want to buy it. I just think they think those books are grails because at a time when they were young, we didn't know how many were out there. So we've always had affinity for those things because in our minds, as young people, those are like amazing to see because we didn't see them in every live stream like we do now. That's just my assumption. That's how I feel about it. And thank you always, brother, for the super chat. Tiker, 2014 pickups have kept it in the green with what I purchased. That's good. So even though I took losses from the comic boom, I'm okay with it since I figure I'm still in the green. Haven't sold much. Have 60 to 70 slabs. Wow. That is a lot. I'm not going to lie to you, but that's so. Do we have any raw books or you just have slabs? If 60, 70 slabs and that's it, that's not bad at all. I probably have more comics than you at that point. But again, let me know where you're at on that. But I agree with you, man. I'm probably in the same boat where like I definitely took some beatings. Definitely took some beatings during the comic boom. There's no question. I'm still taking beatings. But at the same time, I've also made, because when I got back in, I was buying a lot of books and then I was able to sell some books and buy other books. That's just kind of how it works sometimes. And everything really is timing. But again, would you, Tiger, would you consider yourself still in that collecting phase, or are you a nostalgia guy now? Or are you like maybe in between collecting and nostalgia, like in between, and you're kind of leaning one way, or maybe you're stuck in that point, which is fine. I shouldn't say stuck. That's not the word I want to use, but you're fine with where you are and you're still a collector, but you're only buying things you really love. That's what I really want to say. Oh, Hale says, nostalgia is what really drove me back to the hobby. I love this hobby, but the community is what keeps you there. I 100% agree, especially where I am now, having really consolidated to things I really, really love. And I still buy stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't go out and buy stuff. I still do. No questions asked. Here, I'll show you what I just picked up. Kung Fu Complete, because I love this game. Always one of my favorite NES games. So I still buy stuff. It may not be comics, but I'm only buying things I have an affinity for. So, but I still go on live streams because of the community. Obviously, I do YouTube because of the community. I love that aspect of it. I love going to shows, seeing people that I have either haven't met before or I have, and just chatting them up, talking about the hobby. So I agree that there are people out there who says community is not there. Dude, I'm the exact opposite of that. I love the comic community. I love meeting new people, talking about things we love. So to me, nostalgia is great. Meeting people, the hobby is great. Community is great. I love hearing where people are at. And if I could help anyone by telling them how I feel, I will do that. But I also want everyone else to share, because obviously I have a platform to speak on, but a lot of you guys maybe don't have that platform. So that's why I like having you on and talk about this stuff. So other people who maybe, don't speak up that often, they're hearing it from other collectors out there. So Fonzo says, I've sold a lot. I said in one of your past live streams, I've been selling at garage sales. Last year, I made 3K selling comics at our sale. I turned around and bought the Djurjevic Ultimate 4 variant. All right, so there you go. So again, selling things off that you didn't want in your collection anymore, and then buying something you did, I assume. So that's a good thing as well. I think as you go along that journey, like there's one point where we get in where we're kind of, we're treading water and we're being very trepidatious, and then we're comfortable enough to where we start buying a lot of things that we should or we shouldn't, and it becomes a habit. And then we purge a little bit. All right, let me sell what I really don't want and buy something I really do still want, or maybe just keep the things that I already have that I really have a fondness to. So it seems like Jeff is kind of at that point where he's letting go of a few things and adding a few things that he really wants. Braddock says he loves the artwork and he's a superhero fan. Started with the big Silver Age keys, and then that progressed into Golden Age and pre-code horror. Oh, and Bronze Age horror as well. I think I probably progressed the same way, where it's like you dip your toe in. I skipped the whole modern thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. Outside of the art, I really never was into it, and I went straight for the Silver Age because that was my heart. Always was my heart. I love the big Silver Age keys. To me, if I could afford just to have the big Silver Age keys and just have that, that's probably what I would have stuck to. But you go to Golden Age because of the rarity. You go to Golden Age maybe because you're a Batman or a Superman fan, or it's like something's a little bit more scarce that's not a lot of people have, and it's attainable by maybe trading or selling some of the books you have. So that's why you kind of jump into that genre. Pre-code horror is the same way. Like the art, to me, I always say pre-code is the best art that's ever been done. It's incredible. Obviously, modern now is kind of putting that to the test, but because of the amount of books that come out right now in the modern age, there's just way too many. When we talk about pre-code, that's why I still think it holds the top spot. Jeff also says another thing he's selling for is his wife, and I want to travel. Again, getting older, our son is 21 and off on his own, and now it's time to start tapping into this revenue stream of comics and has some fun. So I agree with that. You get to a certain age, you start pairing things off just because you want to do other things. I'm assuming, Jeff, you're probably in your 50s, and you want to do the things that you haven't done before. And that's what it's about. I mean, if you held comics for long enough, I think if you bought the right ones, you should do pretty good. Oh, so it was a third print TMNT, but regardless, man, that's still awesome. I would still love to pull a TMNT one out of a shoebox from back in the day, man. That's crazy story. Congrats, brother. So Palermo says he has sold stuff that he picked up over the years from garage sales, which I had lots of stuff. So yes, lots of 80s to 2000 stuff that I bought in garage sales to get books I wanted to keep. So again, he's along that. I think he's probably at the tail end of the collector stage and more about the nostalgia stage, maybe the stuff that's really important to him. So again, it's about finding where we all are. I think a good meat of you are still in the collector stage, which to me, that's good. That's good for the hobby. I think if everybody got to the nostalgia stage like me, that the hobby would probably die off. But from the people who have shared, a lot of people are still in the collector stage, which I think is fantastic. I think kids and younger collectors are just more into their nostalgia. SpongeBob, Disney books, John Wick, video game properties, they're more into that than Silver Age girls. Yeah, I know, I agree. The problem is, I think with younger kids, like I could watch SpongeBob or Disney books. I won't include John Wick in that, but like the video game properties now, like I couldn't ever imagine having nostalgia for that. Like I watched my kid play Minecraft for fucking 6 hours on the PlayStation. I'm like, dude, or the computer, whatever the hell it's on. I'm like, I couldn't even understand. Like, why are you into this? Like, I understand it's almost like, an adventure game back in the day playing Nintendo, but I don't know. Like, I can't imagine having nostalgia for that, but that's just me. Maybe because I'm an adult. I wish I could answer that one, but I just don't see it. Braddock says, I honestly don't see comics ever going away. It's almost American like apple pie, in my opinion. Uh, I had this question brought out to me on the Amazing Pop Culture podcast. Make sure you guys check it out because I'm actually going to be with them tomorrow because my episode did really, really good. So shout out to them. But yeah, you know what? I think the art is a big draw to comics, more so than the story. And if you have an affinity for comic book art, whether you don't love the characters or not, like I've always loved the characters, so that's what kept me there. The art, obviously, as well. I grew up with the art, but I think if you're someone who's just getting into comics, I think the art is what draws you in for the most part. So as long as the art stays phenomenal, which I expect it to, obviously, I think comics will always be there as well. I think they should reduce the amount of comics they put out, no question. But I think as long as the art is top notch and they just keep pushing the envelope with stuff, they'll be relevant. Victor Palucci, my man, what is up? He says 100% community. Braddock says your top 10 is must-watch TV from you, Lawrence. I can't tell you how many times you've educated me on books. Sometimes they led me down the OCD rabbit holes. Dude, I don't mean to do that, but I get myself sometimes. You know what I mean? Like when I put together that list, I learn stuff myself. So like I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. So if I find out, holy shit, like that's the first appearance, whatever, or there's a little tidbit in this book which I never knew about, like I love that. I absolutely love that. So like that's why I do it because it teaches me stuff. It's not always the most exciting books that are on there. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Uh, which, I try to make it as exciting as I can. I stopped doing the hot 10 because it just became too repetitive. Like I don't want to repeat myself. I want to grow. I want to be able to expand and do other things. That's why you see me guys put toy videos out. You see me do other stuff because that's the stuff I'm also into. I love comics. I do, but I think there's enough meat on the bone to talk about everything. My boy Jin Han, brother, I sent you a message on IG. Please check it. I hope you're doing well, though, man. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to our next show together. So in the next couple of weeks, let's touch base about that. Palermo says, I like the way Lawrence gives analysis on the books and just doesn't go with, well, if it's in the top 10, you need to buy it because you have a price point, etc. I just give you the price that the Key Collector app gives you. So those runner-up books, because again, a lot of people ask me like, well, how come you're only given the one price and it's only like a certain percentage over the last grade? I'm like, because that's what the Key Collector app gives me. A lot of the times when they give those prices, because that's the last time these books sold in those grades, which is wild to me. Like that's why you'll see a lot of books that aren't like mainstream. Like some of them are. Don't get me wrong. Like there was a Web of Spider-Man that I covered that was a very mainstream book, but like it was like a newsstand and it was like somebody paid a crazy amount of money for it. I'm like, that's like a $5 book that if it's not a newsstand, but it was a 9.8 and someone paid like $800 or whatever it was for the book. I'm like, man, that's nuts. Like I would never for like a $5 book. I don't care what grade it was. I don't care if it is a newsstand. Like the book itself, I understand everybody collects those things, but to pay that amount of money for a book just because it's a newsstand is wild. Tyker says, if I can consolidate my entire collection for like an AF-15 and a 7.5, I would, but don't want to take a big hit in selling my books now. Consolidation has a big cost too. So I agree with you. You guys know me. I traded a bunch of books for a Batman 1, and I ended up taking a beating on that book. So it's not always worth your while. But I will say this. The grade isn't everything. If you love a book, love a character, I don't care what the grade is. It does not matter. I will say it matters if it's complete, if it's a blue label, no restoration. That it matters only for resale purposes. If you love, I'll use Spider-Man as a reference here, but AF-15, if you love that Spider-Man and you love AF-15, you want one and you just want to have it and you want to maybe pass it down and you don't care about the money, then you can buy whatever you want. But I don't need to have a high grade and everything. In fact, I have an NGs on some big books. So like I get it, but I always, caution people, don't get caught up in the grade unless you're really looking to, when you sell it, to make money. Because I do understand the higher the grade, the more likely you are to make money on a book when you sell it, as long as you hold it for a certain period of time. Because in a Silver Age book, the less of them you're going to find in those grades. So I do understand that. Jeff says, you're going to go make some dinner. It's only 6:30 here in Arizona. Enjoy, brother. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Love what you do. Thank you guys so much. Hey, we got 62 people in the live chat, man. I'm shocked. I'm shocked, and I love you guys for being here. But this is a good topic. This is a really great topic, in my opinion. And I'm shocked that we haven't had more people come on to talk about this and anybody bring it up in other chats. I'm actually going to see if I can try to get some of the other guys who I am friendly with on YouTube to kind of come on and maybe give their insights on this topic about where they are, where they see people, because I do think it's important, and especially for our hobby, whatever hobby you're in, because we are. I think a lot of people who follow me are comic guys and gals, which I understand, but it also speaks the same tone for the toy collectors, for the video game collectors, for along down the line, because at the end of the day, I think those people are nostalgia as well. Whether you grew up with a superhero, you grew up with an NES, you grew up with TMNT, figures, playmates, whatever it is, like you have the same affinity for all these things. So we're all kind of mishmash together in that fact. Oh, Hale says, I personally think it would help if a podcast topic was about how to avoid scammers and too good to be true deals. Not to mention anyone personally, just warning for new and old collectors entering the hobby. That's actually a really good suggestion. I will do some digging and see if I can come up with something to talk about how to avoid scammers, because they're all out there. We know that. We'll save that though for a podcast. Thank you, O'Hale. JSS, appreciate it, brother. He said, would appreciate all hitting the like button as it does help the channel. He's 100% correct. As I speak of the devil, amazing pop culture podcast, we're on the same wavelength. I just started on TikTok recently and posted today a very video clip. I asked a dealer if the kids are buying our kids into comics in 2026. And what was the answer? That's what I'd like to know. Yes, if you guys didn't catch the first episode of the drawing board, I forgot what we called it. My apologies, folks, what we called that, but it was a really good success. Victor Palucci was like the big winner of the night. He bought a sketch that Jin did that day. He also hit two freaking, I think, big jackpots there. He got two books, two pieces of art that he won as well that were amazing. So thank you, Victor. You're always one of the biggest supporters of the community, man. I appreciate you. So Phil asked a great question. Do you ever get into sports cards? So let me tell you a great story. Not a great story, but a sad, but whatever, a learning experience. Let me put it that way. So when I was a kid, I was big into sports cards. Like I had a lot of cards growing up as a kid. That was my thing. When I was young as well, not only was I a comic guy, Nintendo or arcade, but I was big into sports cards. So Garbage Pail Kids as well. But sports cards were like one of my first loves because me and my friends were young, and I'm talking like third, fourth, fifth grade, like around that time frame, we were collecting cards. And I was a huge Mets fan. So baseball for the most part, collecting. I had a ton of great cards. And I remember going to like hobby shops because they did have a few where I grew up. So like I would always beg my dad to go there, let me check out the new cards. Even then, buying packs, which was dangerous back then because you're buying older packs, and people were really pieces of shit back then because they would really just take the good cards out and then reseal the packs. And, to a kid to sell that to is just despicable, but that's how the time was. So regardless, yes, I was a huge sports cards fan. And when we were a kid, we would take like our binders and we'd bring them into school. We'd bring them into school and we put them on our backpacks, and like during recess or during whatever, we'd take them out and see if we wanted to trade cards. We'd, show each other what we had, stuff like that. And I remember leaving school one day and somebody took the binder out of my bag, and that was it. I never found the binder again. Somebody stole it, and that kind of turned me off after that. And I got out of sports cards. So, but yes, sports cards are one of my true great loves. As an adult, did I ever get back into sports cards? No. It's just, for me, everything, if you want to go back and you want to buy vintage baseball cards or football cards or whatever cards they are, I'm all for it, because I think, again, there's a finite amount and they're not being reproduced. Whereas all cards now are pretty much manufactured rarity. There's a one of one, there's a whatever, like they're manufactured. And there's a difference between being truly scarce and manufactured rarity, in my opinion, because if you grew up loving Mickey Mantle, you grew up loving, Dwight Gooden, like I did, having that card meant something to you because you knew, if that was your favorite player, or like the scarcity aspect of a Mickey Mantle, like that's what made it fun. The scarcity stuff now, the scarcity stuff and manufactured scarcity, I don't play that game. To me, I see right through that. And although some collectors like it, it just never appealed to me. And that's why I never got back into sports cards. Do I buy a pack here and there? Yeah, sure. I'm not gonna lie. My kids are big football fans. I'm a big football fan. So they like football cards. So like we'll buy a pack together and we'll rip it and see if we get, just to have that thrill of like opening the pack. Like that's what we like. And I think that's what a lot of collectors like. They want that thrill of finding something that's rare and a pack. They don't really give a shit about the card. I pretty much believe that. Like, if you're a big freaking whatever Dodgers fan and you pull an Ohtani, like, okay, great. That's awesome. But people are looking for the moolah. That's it. That kind of takes the fun out of it for me. Another one from Hurricane. I love you, brother. Rank these TV shows by their theme song or intro. Oh, see, we could have a whole podcast just talking about that. Just themes. I might just do that. G.I. Joe, Transformers, Mask, He-Man, and Motu, and Voltron. Right off the bat, Motu goes to number one. He-Man and the Master Universe is number one on my book all time. It's got the greatest intro. To me, behind that intro, I'm going Voltron. To me, that music, when that hit, din, 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 that was iconic. So to me, I'm putting Voltron 2. Honestly, after that, I'm going G.I. Joe. I think G.I. Joe had another one of those really great theme songs. Transformers, again, wasn't the greatest intro. I love Transformers. I'm a big Transformers guy, but the intro, to me, always felt flat. It might have been the best show after He-Man. He-Man was, I would include Thundercats on that. If you gave me Thundercats, I'm probably putting that after Voltron. It'd be He-Man, Voltron, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and then Mask. And I think I knocked that list out of the park right there. Anybody want to fight me on that, we could talk about it, but I think I nailed that one. So Pop Culture Podcast says, in a nutshell, the dealer he talked was young and said kids aren't into comics and it's basically all old dudes. See, a lot of people say that. But again, will children come to this hobby as adults? They don't have to be into it now. I think as you're a kid, you get the books, you buy moderns, because that's what we all did. When we grew up, we were buying shit off the shelf. We're not going looking through vintage boxes. I did a little bit because I love the artwork and I was a big Spidey guy. So that's what I did when I went to like a local show or a local shop, I mean. So I would go dig through stuff. But I think if you're a kid now, you're buying off the rack modern books, or honestly, with all the shit that's going on, you're playing video games, you're buying freaking Pokemon. That's what they're more into. But as a adult, are they going to come back and look through the vintage? That's what I want to know. And that's what I think a lot of us do now. So I think it's too early to tell. We'll probably be gone before we know the answer, unfortunately. Here is a great question. If you decide to get another big book, nothing crazy, but over $5,000, what's on the top of your list personally? That's a really great question. It's something I really haven't thought of, because I'll be honest with you, there isn't a book that I haven't owned. I mean, of course there are books I haven't owned. I shouldn't say it like that, but like, I mean, I've had all the Marvel Silver Age Grails. I've had a Batman 1. I have a Detective 27. It's incomplete, but that's fine. I have a Detective 27. I have a Superman 1, missing obviously the front cover. But what's left for me to get? Like an Action 1? I don't think it's ever going to happen. So like, if I could, I'll say this: if I'm going to rebuy a book at this point, I've had Prequel Horror as well. I've had Tomb of Terror 15. I've had Black Cat Mystery. Is it 15? Tomb of Terror 15, Black Cat Mystery. And why am I forgetting the number with the melted face? I forgot the number. Regardless, I've had all those books. So like, I've been there and I've done it all. Again with this stupid thing. It took me back into the big screen. Oh well. Yeah, so I don't know. Like that's a great question, but I don't know if I could answer it. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just not something I think I could. If I just bought if I'm gonna spend that kind of money, it's not gonna be on a comic, I don't think anymore. Like I just bought a first print of The Wizard of Oz. Like it was released in like 1896. I just bought that. I actually traded My Amazing Spider-Man number 50, signed by Ramita and Stan Lee in an 8.0. I mean, I love that book. That is to me like two of my favorite creators, John Romita Sr. and Stan Lee, signed one of my favorite books of all time. And I got rid of that book to buy something that, it's scarce, but at the same time, like I had a huge affinity for Wizard of Oz growing up as a kid. Like my family loved it. We sat down and watched it multiple times every year. So like having that, I thought was like a really good opportunity. So I had I had that ASM 50 for a really long time. It was just time for me to move on. So I don't think I would buy a comic for $5,000 anymore, unless I got like some ridiculous deal where I'm like so far in the green that I just have to do it. So that's where my mind is on that. Braddock says he can't wait to see the Motu movie on the big screen this year. Me too, man. I was at Mattel, their booth on Monday, man, and I can't tell you how amazing it was just to be there in their presence, seeing Travis Knight in the screen. If you haven't watched that video of me over at Mattel's booth, go watch it, because if you don't care about the toys, that's fine. But just to see all the stuff that they let us do, and the director of the movie, spoke to us. It was a really, really fun time. Just check it out. It was really good. Osale says the IG community is top tier. No other platform will you see someone pitch in the money to help a buyer afford a book they want to own. I agree with you, man. The live sales are something else. They really are. They have their limitations, and I do think at times that it hurts the hobby seeing everything every day. But the community is what keeps those things going. Okay, so keep that in mind. I agree with you 100%. Like, I do think you can find great deals. You just have to be really, really know what you're looking for. Trust the graders. I hate to say this, not every dealer that's on Instagram is great at grading their books. So I've always stuck to like a few that I know. We kind of grade books the same. We're on the same page. So like, that's the only thing I will caution you. Other than that, if the community out there is just amazing. I would like to see that some of that IG stuff come over to YouTube. It's another platform where I'd like to see people start selling things. I know people do that here and there, but it's really few and far between. Oh, Gago Fred says DuckTales beats all those theme songs. So yes, I agree with you. I'll say Motu is still number one, just because my affinity for that is amazing. But DuckTales is probably the catchiest freaking cartoon theme song of all time. And I love the show. The show was like, you couldn't miss the show. That's how good it was. Even the video game, the NES game was tremendous. That's how much the IP of DuckTales was in my mind. I'm shocked they haven't done anything with that at all, right? Like, we're adults here, and I don't see anything regarding DuckTales anymore. Great point out, Gago Fred. I love that, brother. Hopefully comics stick around. Stamp collecting is dead, and people are only collecting coins due to precious metal pieces skyrocketing. See, I think Motu Prince, he says, Rescue Rangers, man, that was before my time. It was after my time. Like, I stopped watching cartoons at that point. So 100%, I stopped. I couldn't do it anymore with that when we got into that. No questions asked. Like, that was like really like, I couldn't do that anymore. I was out of cartoons by the time of Rescue Rangers started, unfortunately. But it's all good because like I said before, it's all nostalgia. So if you love it, man, I think that's awesome. So I'm going to do this again by hopping in and hopping out, because I don't know why this does this. It's like when I the fuck out, it does. There we go. I think I learned how to fix that now. That's better. But guys, if you have any more questions, this stream has been absolutely fantastic. Like, I absolutely love some of the questions that you guys have put forth. And I absolutely love the fact that you guys are sharing where you are right now in your journey. So again, I'm here for as long as you guys want. It's 9 o'clock. We've been doing this for an hour. We still have 60 something people in the room. But again, where are you guys still buying stuff? Like, does anybody else here collect anything else besides just comics? We had the sports cards question before. Any Pokemon people out there? I've never really gotten to Pokemon, but it's like the biggest thing in the world right now. And I think that's what's keeping collectors going. But I also think we're at the top. And I'm not the guy to really talk about Pokemon, but I will talk about like I feel like it's so overheated that something's about to happen. I saw somebody post something that they were trying to get rid of a bunch of them, and all of a sudden I'm not seeing people scurry to kind of buy them. So that I thought that was very interesting. So I'm calling a top in Pokemon right now, especially with that $16 million sale, which between me and you, does that card sell for 16 million if it's not Logan Paul? I'm going to say no. I know, but that's what they're talking about over at the Ungraded Truth right now, probably still, but there's no way if that's not Logan Paul's card, that's not selling for $16 million. And I'll say this, the Action Comics one that sold, that Metropolis bought, Comic Connect, that book's not selling for 15 million if it's not Nicolas Cage's book that has history behind it. Excuse me. So also keep that in mind. Down the road, is that story going to play into someone else buying the book? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it's an Action one, so it's, you know, everything's on the table. But again, the history of if a book or an item has history like that, people tend to overpay. So Motu says he always sees the Pokemon section barren at Walmart. But yeah, but I got to say this. When you go to these places, like these big box stores, and the shit's barren, are they scalpers or are they people who are actually buying the product? I'm not saying Pokemon's not still hot. That's not what I'm saying. I think we reached the top. So yes, is it scalpers though, or is it actual collectors going and buying? Because I personally, we're going to see this play out throughout the rest of the year. If we start to see things start coming down now after that sale, it remains to be seen. I could be wrong, but I got this gut feeling, just like I had with comics, with modern starting to heat up. Same gut feeling that we've kind of seen the top and everything. O'Hale says he was born in 73, so you're a tad older than me, not by much. And in the late 70s and early 80s, we had a Battle of the Planets cartoon. That vaguely sounds familiar, but I don't remember that one. Hurricane Man, thank you so much, brother. You're the best. Couple of NES questions. So this is like right up my alley right now. You're playing pro wrestling. You picking F. Hayabusa or King Corn Karn. King Corn Karn was my guy, bro. Always was my guy. Follow up, Castlevania versus Double Dragon for a Friday night. That's an impossible question to ask. That's an impossible question to ask. No freaking way I can answer that because they're both tremendous games. It depends what you wanted. If you want a strategic game, you're going to go with Castlevania, which, you know, I say it like that because Double Dragon was strictly a beat 'em up, whereas like I will just mash the shit out of buttons and try to get through the game. Whereas Castlevania, you're kind of jumping over things, you're whipping people, you're whatever. It depends what you felt on that Friday night, man. I could go either one on Castlevania or Double Dragon. I have an affinity for both. I've loved both of those. Castlevania 1 more than 2. A lot of people will kill me for that, but I'm a big original Castlevania guy. And Double Dragon, to me, there's no better beat 'em up game than Double Dragon. I remember playing that game in the arcade for the first time. That's how much that game meant to me. It was awesome. So King Corn Karn, though, brother. No fucking question. That's a great question, man. I love that. That may be the question of the year so far. Tyker says, I've been collecting Pokemon, just sealed trainer boxes and booster boxes. It's had a great return, and honestly, I don't think it's anywhere close to stopping. It's the nostalgia of this generation's 2000 and plus. I agree with you about the nostalgia. If you were into Pokemon in, early on when it first came out and then you started buying again, I just feel like it's so overheated right now that it's about to break. But we'll see. We'll find out. I'm not saying you shouldn't love it. And obviously the return has been phenomenal. But like I said, just like the stock market, when it's the least expecting, when it's least expected, that's when shit hits the fan. Go Fred says, I just started collecting original comic art. Picked up a modern Batman page by Chris Samney, but I'm trying to track down original Motu mini comic art. Oh my God. Dude. So I got to tell you, they had original sketches for Motu on Heritage, maybe about like 4 or 5 months ago. And I was bidding on a couple of them, but they got too much of me. That's something I wish I would have bought. I wish I paid a little bit more for it, but I just kind of gave out at a certain point only because I had spent so much money already. That's the thing. Motu mini comic art, I've never seen it in person. I have never seen one listed in person. I've seen the original sketches, like the what's the word? what's the word I'm looking for? Like the prototype sketches, how I forget the guy's name, but how he envisioned each character. Like, so like, and they sold for like crazy amounts of money, dude. Crazy amounts of money. The Skeletor one was ridiculous. So if you ever found one, you better call me and be like, listen, I found this, because I'm gonna start bidding with you for it. But I think that's awesome. So you bring up a great question. Is like, how many of you guys have you transition to original art? That seems to be the progression as well. When you're done with comics, you kind of go to the original art realm. But I'm going to say something to you that I don't think a lot of people would say. Of course, I myself, you see behind me, I have original art. I have 2 pages that were published. But at the same time, guys, if I were to take those 2 pages right now, it would be really hard for me to sell them. Really hard for me to sell them. Not everybody can sell original art. You have to find the right buyer for the right piece. So I love original art. I think it's amazing. But let me ask you this. I also have recreations. Like a buddy of mine is a really good artist does. I say I have an ASM 129, a Hulk 1, a ASM 41, and a Superman 1. All original art. Do you think it would be easier for me to sell those recreations of covers, or take an original art page that's more expensive, that's kind of specific to each individual out there, and sell? I think it's easier to sell the cover, and it's a cheaper price because it's not a published artist. But at the same time, you get that same feeling, you get the same thing out of that as well. So I just think it's really hard to sell original art. Obviously, it's a lot more expensive, so not everybody can get into it, but your buyers are limited. That's what scares me with original art. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, because I have obviously done it. You just have to be really, really careful. But I think that's awesome. Go. Scalpers, he sees that scalpers are the people buying at Walmart. So a guy scanning a pack after pack and loading his cart. Yeah, I mean, that's what I see too, man. It's like you can't get the stuff on the shelf. Even though I will say this, my LCS, Zap Comics, they consistently post shit that they get in, and I'm sure it's gone by people by the time they walk in the door. So he said he can't beat Dracula in Castlevania. Impossible. I did it, man. I will. You know what's a funny thing? If you played video games as a kid, and I'll use the NES as an example. If you go back now and play these games, they're a lot harder than they are when I was a kid. Like I go back and I try to like play fucking, what was I playing the other night? And I'm like, this is too hard. Like I can't do this anymore. What was it? Freaking, it was, what the hell was it? I'm drawing a blank now. Regardless, if you go back and play some of these games now, they're a lot. I was playing NHL 95. You ever played NHL 95 on a Sega Genesis? I used to be great at that game. Dude, I can't even score now. Like, it's so hard. Like, my fingers are not what they used to be. So, like, I'm not fast enough. I can't do one-timers anymore. So, like, you go back and you play these games now, I stink at them compared to when I was a kid where I was dominant. So, something in your bones as you get older doesn't allow you to actually go ahead and be good at these games. Oh, Hell says Battle of the Planets is an American adaptation of the Japanese anime series Gotcha Man. Seeing cartoon characters die after school was wild. Oh my God. That is wild. Send me that. If you're on IG, send me that. I'll take a look at that. That is crazy. That's for a kid. I don't know about that one, man. Charlie D, what's going on? In my late 40s, so as am I, started collecting from the newsstand when he was 15. Stopped in my mid 20s. I got back in my mid 30s and bought a dozen original art pages. Wow. Now, oh my God. Now, mid 40s, I bought some more comics. So, Charlie, I'm going to ask you a question. What made you go to original art pages and then go back to comics? Because that's not, a lot of people don't do that. They kind of have their way with the comics for a while, then go over to original art because they've kind of figured, like, you know what, I've gotten what I've gotten from comics. Let me go get something that's more scarce, more, you know, I don't want to use the word sought after, but more, you know, the rarity. I'll put it that way. Rarity is key when we're talking about original art. Everything's one of one. So, what made you go back to comics? The price? Because I do know that obviously original art gets expensive. Just to stay in the hobby, I'd love to hear the answer to that. Played and beat Rygar with my son a few months back. It was kind of tough. Yeah, man. I mean, maybe your son did most of the work. I don't know. Regardless, I consistently play. I got this. You know, one day when I do a live stream, I'm gonna put up a second camera with my phone so I could just move the phone around so you guys can see what's in this room. But I got like a modded arcade right here with like every game imaginable on it, and I'm constantly playing this thing. It's just I am not as good as I used to be. So Charlie D says I have a Motu limited series number 2 original cover art in 2003, and now with the movie on the way, he's in love with it again. Wow. That's amazing, dude. I want to look up the cover right now, but I'll check it out after the show. That is crazy. Holy shit. Original art to Masters Universe 2 limited series. There was a guy at New York Comic Con. Actually, he's the guy that I bought my stuff from. My original art pages. Same guy. He had a Masters Universe cover that was done. I don't remember which issue it was, but it was beautiful. And I asked him how much it was, and I was shocked to see how much it was. So again, you're going to see me do this because my screen screws up. So I'm going in and going back out again. But that is crazy, dude. Absolutely crazy. I would love to see that. Regardless, the Motu cover that I saw at the convention was $4,000. How many people out there like $4,000? Like I could understand like some of these things, these covers, like that are important. That Spider-Man, whatever. I understand why they're crazy expensive, but I'm shocked to see that a Motu cover was that expensive because I didn't think a lot of people were into Motu art, the comic art. I'm not talking about the mini comic. I'm talking about the regular comics. So I feel like that's really specific. I would love it, but I'm not too sure how many other people would. But I guess I'm wrong. I have a second person who would love it as well. And he actually owns a freaking thing. Charlie, I will say if you're on Instagram, follow me, Mighty Comics _collectibles. And if you could send me like just a picture of that in a DM, I would love to see it, brother. I really would. He says he went to original art because he thought that would be the beach store of value with my money. But I love the comics now because it's great to get all the first appearances I never had, and CGC got me. So what do you mean by CGC got you? Meaning like having them be graded got you? Is that what you mean? That's what I think you mean. But I do agree that original art is like, because like I said, it's a one of one. When you buy original published art, it's one of one. So like all you need to do is find that one buyer to be able to get that value you want out of it, as opposed to a comic where if you're buying like a Hulk 181, we all love the book, but there's 20,000 nearly on the census, and there's still probably a ton that are still graded. Obviously, it's a really important book, but you're a one-on-one there. Like that Motu cover, I'm jealous, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. There is an art. I'm very jealous. Gago Fred says recreation covers are cheaper and feature classic images, so it'll be easier to move if you ever want to sell. And that's my thinking as well. Like I don't plan on selling these because a personal friend of mine made these for me. So like 2 of them were gifted to me, and the 2 I actually purchased, but they're incredible. Like if you're a Spidey guy, like they're awesome. Like I like to have like original covers to original recreations of covers that I absolutely loved. Like one of them is ASM 129. To me, that's one of the best covers that's ever been done. If you're a Spidey guy and you love the Punisher as well, it's unbelievable. So to have that, I just think it's really cool. I also have, it's not print, it's not published art, but I have a Neil Adams Hulk that he did. When Elite Comics 11 used to have him on, I purchased one of those only because I've always wanted to have an original piece of art by a famous artist. And obviously I am a Neil Adams fan, or I was a Neil Adams fan. So buying it, even though I know it's not published, is still a cool thing to have. And it wasn't that crazy expensive either. Charlie says he graded all his books, like 150 of them I owned when I was a kid. I gave CGC too much money. Dumb me. It happens, man. Especially the time frame. You know what? We all spend money on we all spend money foolishly in this hobby. It's just that's why I asked the question in the beginning. Like, how many people out there just spend money to spend money now because they've been in the hobby for so long and it's fun and it keeps them in the hobby, right? I hate to say it, but when you stop buying things, sometimes you feel like you're out of the hobby. It's just that's the only way I know how to explain it to you guys. I will say having the community be what it is on Instagram, on YouTube, in person, it keeps you in it to an extent. But if you're not buying anything, you're kind of left out at times. So if you go to a show and you're just walking around saying hello to people, blah, 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 looking around, you don't buy anything, you're kind of almost whatever. I don't know if you feel a part of it as if you bought something at the show or online, wherever. Instagram, especially, like I pop in all the time on all the live sales just to see what they have. And then I'll pop out if I don't see anything that I like. Uh, there's very rare these days that I do buy anything. And if I do, it's not a comic, but still, like being just popping in and out, saying hello, talking to people, it keeps you a part of the community. I think that's, as collectors, that's important to keep. So as much as a drawback as those IG live sales are at times, that's the really big positive part of it, is that they kind of keep us all together and keep us talking about the hobby, which I do think is a good thing. But more to his point, CGC and the money, that's why I stopped submitting books, dude. I stopped freaking submitting books because the amount of money that it costs to get things graded nowadays. And you saw, I don't know if you guys saw, PSA just raised prices on their cards. So they obviously they just came to market a little while ago with their comics, but how far down the line are they going to do that with comics? Once they get going with obviously getting more submissions, you got to figure they're going to raise prices as well. And I've said this, the same thing about CGC. They already saw them raise prices, I think, the end of last year. You're going to see another one this year. I'm guaranteeing it. I'm calling it now. It's just the way it is. Like when people stop submitting, that's when they'll stop raising prices. That's it. But we're talking, to grade a book, it's over $100 now on one book. So think about it. If Charlie says he had 150 books, and let's just say like that's all like $1,000, right? They're all $1,000. That's it's a lot of money. It's 15 grand you just spent, brother. I'm just saying they're not all $1,000 books, but still, I know they're not all modern books either. So just keep that in mind. That's a lot of money. That's why I stopped doing it. That doesn't mean like I had my Superman, the resto taken off, and then I regraded it. That's a different story. Once in a blue moon, I'll do something like that. But Ian Green, what is going on, my friend? How are you? I definitely feel like if I'm not buying, I feel like I'm not up to date on what the collector community's for sure. It's hard. I take breaks here and there, but when you jump back in after a month or two, it feels great. I agree. And that brought me to my point where we started this conversation tonight, right? We start off as getting back into the hobby because we love the IP, or maybe you didn't love the IP and then you're just finding comics and you're dipping your toe in the water. Then we start collecting. And I think just being a collector becomes like most of our time. And then at some point, either we bought all the things that we wanted to buy, the money aspect of it becomes to a point where, hey, I'm spending a lot of money, I have to tail this back, and we start selling things off. Or you finally realize at one point that, hey, I'm not in love with all the stuff that I have to get rid of it and just keep the things that I love. So in that time frame of when you're a collector and what I'm calling the nostalgia phase, you kind of like, you buy things to be involved. And I think I'm there already, but I'm at my nostalgia phase. But every now and then I dip into that. I want to be involved. And if I want to be involved, I got to buy something. Now, what I will say is this, for me, myself, I haven't bought a comic in a really long time. Outside of like, I shouldn't say that. I go to my LCS and I buy like I picked up Spectacular Spider-Man books. You guys saw me do a video on that. Like, cause like I found this stuff for cheap. I'm like, these are all great little first appearances that I remember reading or I didn't read and I do want to read and just get back into it. And they're like cheap. They're like $5 each, $3 each. So I do it. So that I don't consider that like buying a book. When I say buying a book, I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of dollars at least. But yeah, you go and you buy things that are just to keep you involved. Like I'll buy like a video game to keep me involved. Right? I'll buy something else that I remember that I didn't have or that I remember as a kid. That's how I stay involved now. And obviously the YouTube things makes it a little easier for me to stay involved because I'm constantly looking up books. I'm constantly trying to get you guys information. I'm going to toy shows. I'm doing whatever. So that keeps me involved as well. So Ian Green says he's trying to collect the mini comics that came with the OG figures, man. Yeah, man, I thought about doing that as well, but that's a tough task to go get all of them. It can be done, and they're not crazy expensive. So that's a good way to keep yourself involved as well. Like, I think As a collector, this is a really good point, Ian. Thank you for bringing this up. To stay involved, is to my point before, like you could spend a little money here and there to stay involved. You don't have to buy a big book to stay involved. Case in point with my Spectacular Spider-Man, I'm also going to drop a Web of Spider-Man video next week because people are asking me to do that. So case in point, I'll go back to my LCS and look for some of those books and see if I can find them for cheap. That keeps me involved. Again, like I said, the community keeps me involved as well, YouTube. But yeah, buying things that are inexpensive keeps you involved 100%. And I think a lot of us, when we get to that point, that's a good spot to be in. Don't be buying crazy stuff when we're just trying to stay involved. I think we all end up regretting that if we start doing that. So, Phil, I had a great conversation with Amazing Pop Culture Podcast a couple weeks back, and we brought up this topic, and I answered it. I think they are dying out, and I'm going to give you an example. He told me that someone came in to him and says that I was crazy and that they're not dying out, but I still think they are. I go to a toy show by me. I go to my LCS too. They have pops, but I go there, toy show, and there's this one guy with a huge table of pops. No one's going to his table. Now, that's one instance. I'll go to my LCS. They have a ton of pops. I don't see people buying them unless they're on sale. Again, I'm not in there every hour of every day. They will have to confirm that for me. But you know what? Maybe next time I'm in there, I'll ask them what they see. Maybe they'll tell me. Maybe they won't. But I think they're done. Unless something is really specific. So like, you guys know I'm a big Motu fan. If I saw like a Skeletor pop for like $5, I would buy it cheap. If I saw a Skeletor pop signed by Alan Oppenheimer, something more for a little bit more money, that's something I may buy because I'm a big Skeletor guy. Something like that, I think will always be relevant, but to people who love those certain characters. But outside of that, I said to him, there's way too many of them out there. They made too many too quick, and that's the issue. And now they've kind of died off. That's just my opinion. Palermo says, well, I know I'm an old fart. You know you're not. If you're an old fart, what am I? But I think the best strategy from the value perspective is buy classic Marvel or DC titles and stick with those. They have show to weather the test of time. And I agree. I say that I always think still to this day, if you're a Marvel fan, the big Silver Age first appearances are still best bets if you're willing to hold for the long term. I think certain Bronze Age ones as well. You guys hear me talk about 10 that I would buy, and that's it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't buy anything else. It just means if you're talking about value and you're talking about money, those are the books that I would buy. If we're talking about love for stuff, you can buy whatever you want. But if we're talking about value, I agree. Unless you could buy like an Action one or a Superman one or whatever, because it seems like for the most part, those books usually do pretty well. There was the time that they took a dip, but I think that time has passed. So he adds that he says, make sure it's a character and title you like. So if you like Hal Jordan, work on that run. ASM, I think he means work on that one, Batman, etc. Yeah, that's what I did. Like I did my ASM run. I'll be honest with you guys. I used to have one through the McFarlane run. I don't have a 50 right now, and I don't have an ASM 129. I got rid of that as well. So I'm shy now in completing that run, but I'm in a spot where I don't feel like I need to go out and re-get those. Like if I do decide to sell those eventually down the line, I'll sell them all. I would like to pass down my AF-15. I always said that. If he wants the other ones, then and if I am able to keep them, I will. If I can't, then I won't. We'll see down the line. Everybody has their thing, and we'll go from there. Like everybody's a different situation. That's what I want to say. Run me through what is going on. I'm with you on not buying many comics. I literally have Psylocke Ninja 5-issue series and a Sonya Reborn 6-issue series on my pull list. Once those end, I won't be signing up for anything else. But you say that now, but however something else comes out that you love or that you like or that you're interested in, then what are you going to do? Well, he answers that. Then he says, then I'll buy one of each of the Superman, Spider-Man, and that's it. I'm out of comic collecting. So tell me why, brother. You're the first person so far to say they're totally out. And are you totally out, or are you saying you're out and then you're going to come back in? It's fine either way, but I want to know because you're the first person here to say he's out. Everybody's kind of like they get to a certain point and then they keep buying something. My wife's telling me the dryer is not drying, but I'll deal with that after the show. So yeah, you're the first person to say that you're out. I'd like to know why. I'm not saying it's a bad thing because everybody gets out, but like, is it because give us a reason? Are you just done? You're tired? You're spend too much money? You're just not interested anymore? I would love to hear your side of this. But if not, that's okay too. Not everybody wants to share, and I totally get it. But yeah. All right, so he does answer it. He's totally out. I have 4 kids in a 3-bedroom house. No space. I can't keep collecting if there's no place to store them safely. All right, understandable, man. Totally get it. I get you. Now, is there a possibility to sell whatever you have and then just collect a few things here or there, or just maybe keep a few things that you do like and then that's it and sell the rest? That's up to you. Okay, so he's gonna keep what he has, I assume then. Once his last short box is filled and pretty close to it, he's done. All right, so I get it. I get it. A lot of people, when they get to that point, they'll sell everything and then or sell some stuff so they can keep buying things. But I get it. Space is also a deterrent. I'm not gonna lie to you because when you fill up to a certain amount, and I've done that as well. When this freaking room gets a little bit too crowded, that's how I start selling stuff off again. So I totally understand what he's saying. Um, that's a great. Does everybody have like dedicated space for their comics? Like I'm here in a room, like a little small closet room, to show you guys, like, this is where I keep all my stuff. Does everybody have like a dedicated room? Like, where do you keep your things? Do you keep it in like a basement? Do you keep it in like an attic? Do you keep it in like your bedroom if your wife allows that type of thing? Or if you're single, do you give a shit? You just put it wherever you want. I'd love to hear where everybody keeps their stuff. I'm lucky enough where I have like my wife gives me this little room because she don't want to see it anywhere else. So, so I have it right here in this little room. OHAM. I'm resending. I'm resending my Action Comics 1 to get graded again. Excuse me, I have to repeat that. I'm resending my Action Comics 1 to get graded again. Now he got me. He got me. I'm not satisfied with a 9.8 grade I received from CGC. I think I could do better. So he got me. I heard Action Comics 1 and my jaw dropped, but then he's breaking my chops. 9.8. Yeah. I got you, brother. I don't want to run me through. Says I don't want to sell anything I have. I really like my collection, and there might be 5 to 10 comics I can let go of, but I'd rather not get rid of any of them. All right, fair. Everybody's to each his own. I get it. I'm not that guy. You guys know me. I've sold a ton of stuff off. I just needed a breath of fresh air, and I think a lot of collectors are like that. When you get to a certain point, like I don't love this. I don't love this. Let me kind of put some money back in my pocket. I think we're all like that to a certain extent. So I think it's a good cleanse now and again. So it makes sense. Again, there are some people who just jump ship totally. Like whatever. Like they've had a bad experience. They realize they spent too much money. They rather have the cash. I think a lot of people get like that. They'd rather have the cash that they spent on all the comics at one point, and they'd rather have the money. But I think a majority hold on to a few things here or there. So he says he has a dedicated room for me, which is good. So he's like me. He has a dedicated room for all his shit. 2 kids in each room, then my room. Wife is very cool. I have stuff on the walls, Rosetta canvas arts and prints, cosplay masks, video game collection sleeves, signed jersey. That's awesome. You need the supportive wife in order to be able to do stuff like that. So that's cool. All my short boxes fit in the area of a shared closet. My personal closet is filled with action figures, jerseys, video games. Oh my God, trade paperbacks, books, manga collections, guitars. I just have no space. So now you got to sell some of that stuff. That's what it comes down to, brother. You can't keep everything. That's a lot. If we were just talking comics as one thing, that's a lot of stuff, man. That's a lot. I get why you don't want to keep buying, but we got to get rid of some of that stuff. That's just my opinion. Ian Green says, I've been thinking about selling most of my collection. I'm going to go through and save a couple of the ones I love. Eventually, I want to get down to 20 comics that I can't go without. That's where I did. That's what I did, dude. I got to a point where it's like, you know what? I got so much shit that I can't appreciate. When you have so much things, so many things, you can't appreciate what you have. That's what went through my mind. And when you can't appreciate what you have, that's when you kind of got to bail. You got to get rid of some stuff because I want to be able to enjoy everything I have in this room. And for the most part, I can now. I probably still have a little bit paring down to do, but when I add something, something has to go. That's the way I work it now. If I got to buy something, I got to get rid of something. But I totally agree with you there. The one thing I will say before I get into the next comment, once you start selling stuff off, it becomes easier to sell stuff off. Meaning, at the end of the day, you may not want to keep everything. That's something that a lot of people have told me. Like, once I start selling stuff off, I'm ready to just take all the money and be done. So everybody's different, but that's the experience some people have as well. He says, Run Me Through says, if I live long enough to see my kids leave the house, I'll take over a bedroom. But you read my message wrong. I have no Oh, he has no dedicated room for now. Oh shit. That's a lot of stuff for not a space. I got it. Sorry about that. I totally get it. Oh, Hale says he has his comics in his working office at home. It's a combo man cave, and I work from home in there. It's neatly organized and books on the wall and toys. It's a great atmosphere. Again, I love that because that's what I do. Like this, I don't work from home, but like when I come in here, it's like my space. It's my stuff. I get to see all the stupid shit that I have here, and it makes me happy. Like that. That's to me. I think if you're able to do that and you do it where it's not overcrowded, it's a really nice feeling. And I get that. I get that sense from O'Hale. That's what he does, especially if he works there, which I think is cool. So O'Hale, I'll ask you this question: do you ever have to go in like a work meeting and people see shit on the wall behind you? Do they get like, well, what the hell is that? Because I've had to do that. I've had to jump on like a work thing or like a video conference and they'd be like, what is that behind you? And then I kind of have to explain to them what it is. And I get a little embarrassed, but uh, I'd love to know if you've had that experience as well. Run Me Through says, I'm overwhelmed with all my collections. I have over 70 games on my backlog, but barely get to game with all the kids and taking care of them. Lucky to game, read, watch shows 2 hours after they sleep. Dude, I don't have time to game either, but kids are the most important thing, so I get it. It's hard, especially when you're juggling young kids. I totally get it because they have a lot going on. You know, my youngest is in 8th grade now, and the oldest is about to graduate high school. And I spent a lot of time, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I loved it for between football, basketball, baseball, on all the shit that they love to do, coaching, teaching, math homework, you name it, we did it. But those are the things that I cherish more than, the stuff behind me. So do the stuff with your kids first, man. That's more important. Hell says it has happened, but he blurs the background. That you know what? I'm stupid for not doing that. My bad. You're right. I never thought of that. I don't know. Maybe secretly I do want people to see this outside of you guys. So OAM says he started collecting vintage arcade games many years ago. Space is no problem for me. I have 26 dedicated arcades, but the problem is that I rarely have time to play. That's what happens. Even like the arcades, these miniature ones that I have, I barely have time to play as well. But I do find a time at on the weekends or when we're not doing something, even if it's for an hour, half hour, I'll jump on a game and play a quick game, just whatever. But I get it. Sometimes it's more about the look and the feel and to have that feeling again of like walking into that space more than the actual product themselves. So I get it, man. I couldn't imagine walking into 26 arcades. I would love that. That would be awesome. What are some of the games you have? I'd love to know. Says he can't part with his guitars, being a 20 plus year musician. Love my game collection, comic collection. I'm just hoping I can live long. I would guess you're in your 30s just from your picture. Am I wrong? Let me know. But I get it. It's hard to let go. I get it. It's hard to let go. But once you start letting go, you will feel a little bit better. Especially if you feel cluttered, you will feel a little bit better. I guarantee you that. Well, I gotta assume your kids are pretty young if you're still with. with everything going on. I got to assume they're still pretty young. So he's 41. All right. So you're still young enough. Hale says he's in IT, so 99% of us has toys or something or other sort of nerd equipment. Yeah, I think a lot of us do, man. I think anybody who's around our age, because we all grew up with the same stuff, right? We all grew up with like the same amount of things that I shouldn't say amount, the same things. Like we all grew up with like cartoons. We grew up with superheroes. If we're into comics, we grew up with that. We all grew up with that same type of nostalgia. Video games, riding your bike, sports. If you're a sports person, I think a lot of people grew up in the 80s and 90s were sports people. I'm not saying all of us, but a lot of us were. So that's part of it as well. That age range of like I would say 40 years old to 60 something years old. That's like a sweet spot for us. And we all come back to this, as we get older. 18, 8, 3, and 1. My God, you're a busy man, my friend. That's beautiful, though. Congrats. 8, that's a big disparity. 18 and 1. Congrats, though, man. Guys, I'm proud to say we're 64 people in and still right now, which is incredible. We've been on an hour and a half. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about still before I go for the night? But this has been a blast, man. I really wanted to have the conversation about where we are, in collecting. But I think you guys answered the question for me. We have a lot of people still who are collectors, who are collecting and buying things, but we have a couple of people like me who are, want to say want to stay involved, and we buy things here and there because of the community, because of like nostalgia as well. So again, I remind you that everybody ends up on the same journey at some point. It's where you're getting on. And then if you get off, because some people get off completely, some people don't ever give off, don't ever get off. So, just be smart. That's what I'll leave you with. But I'm happy to say that a lot of you guys and gals are still doing it. Oh, wow. Terra Cresta. I've never even heard of that game. Mikey, never heard of that one either. Mr. Do, of course. Night Driver, Quantum, Section Z, Zarzan, and a few more. My God. So he says, my thing is I don't want to sell just to get rid of it, I'd rather sell for close to what it's worth. Thinking of doing IG giveaways to declutter stuff I can part with. Are you on IG? Do you sell on IG? IG live streams and giveaways are fun to do, but at the end of the day, you got to be okay with selling the stuff and then getting what you get out of it. Because unfortunately, on IG, no one's gonna let you sell for free unless you're doing it on your own stream, which is cool. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got their own decision to make when it comes to getting rid of stuff. It's hard to say I want to get rid of it. I need space. I need money. But at the end of the day, you got to remember what's important. At the end of the day, I'd always rather have money than this stuff. That's just me. I always want to be comfortable than have this stuff. Obviously, you have children, you have a wife. I'm talking to everybody out there. If you have a wife, if you have children, that's the priority. Being comfortable, not overspending. Everything goes along with that. So if you have to give up stuff, it's just stuff at the end of the day. I understand it's important to you, all of us. But at the end of the day, everything could be replaced. Oh, so he's doing a follower giveaway once a month. Is this your IG handle? Run me through. Tell everybody what IG handle is so they can try to get your giveaway once a month so that you can follow you if you want. Amazing Pop Culture Podcast says, I still weep when I think of all the captured I accidentally killed on Galaga. Again, you want to talk about playability? Like this, I said this when I did a podcast with James from James Is Everything. Like the simple games, to me, I can always go back to and play. We talked about, what was I talking about before? That we talked about Castlevania. Going back and playing Castlevania now, well, I could do it. Like I don't have the patience anymore to sit and go to try to beat that game. Nor am I good at it anymore because I've just gotten older. My finger speed is just not there. But going back and playing a game like Galaga, it's so easy because it's it's such an you're just mashing on a button and you try to kill and you're trying to evade the bug. So like it's so easy to get back into. But a game like Castlevania, you have to be, on point throughout the entire game, like trying to evade things and whip things and jump things and find doors and whatever. So like mentally, as you get older, you're tired and you don't want that stress. That's what it comes down to. The Galaga stress, to me, I could deal with that still. All right, ladies and gents, I want to thank everybody out there for coming tonight. This is a blast. It really was one of the best lives I think we've ever done here tonight. So again, I thank you all for jumping on streaming tonight. I'm going to end this one and see if I can go fix my dryer. God knows what my wife did to this thing. But regardless, I appreciate every one of you guys for hopping on, telling me your story, where you're from, where you're going as a collector, and of course where you are right now. So I appreciate every one of you guys for hopping on with me and joining the chat, telling me your stories. And remember, I'll keep doing this as long as you guys want. I love answering questions and talking about these things, but I want some of you guys to come on the stream with me and talk about it with me on stream. I don't care if it's like 5 of you on here with me. Come on and let's just talk. You got a phone? You can come on. We're not doing it tonight now. Obviously, we're ending the stream, but another night. Nobody cares what you look like. As long as you sound okay and there's not kids screaming in the background, we're all right. Let's talk as collectors. Come on, and we'll talk about our the good things, the bad things, where we are, our thoughts, how we process information, and what we're doing now. I think that would be a great conversation. So you guys let me know. But anyway, I appreciate you guys. You have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you as always very soon. Hopefully you guys are watching some of my videos still as I put them out. Next week, of course, we have regular top 10, and then I also have a Web of Spider-Man video. So make sure you guys check that out. I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful evening.